Module 1 is all about introduction to social media. And so this lecture is defining the difference between traditional versus social media. So let's get started. Hi again, this is Professor Nick Carbonaro here, and in Module 1 we've already discussed taxonomy of social media, meaning your levels of social media. We've talked about the 7 myths about social media, so some things you may have heard that we kind of want to get out of your head in giving you the actual facts about what social media is. And then today we're going to be talking and wrapping this module up, talking about the differences between traditional and social media, right? Traditional versus social media. And so our lecture today, we're really defining the two. We're going to compare what they are. And then going forward, we're going to see will traditional media succeed or will it die out to social media? So let's get started on this lecture. So as you can see, it says traditional versus social media here, and many different types of social media platforms compared as well as traditional media platforms. And so let's get started and really see what's going on. So media, it says, what differences, if any, do you see between traditional media and social networking here? So traditional media, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be defining later in this lecture, anything that isn't part of that social digital platform that we're talking about. So your television, your radio, your billboards, all that type of stuff. And so the one big difference, right? The difference that it is a thing called one-to-one versus one-to-many, right? One-to-one versus one-to-many. And so meaning this, a traditional, it's one-to-one, one-to-one, right? Or one-to-many, sorry. Traditional media is one-to-many, meaning you have one company shooting out a billboard and it goes to many people out there, right? One to many, right? Or the telephone back in the day was that traditional media before it evolutionized and stuff, it was one-to-one. Now with social media, the difference is this. We went from one-to-one and one-to-many to many-to-many, right? It became a two-way street, as we like to say, right? So when Facebook puts out when Taco Bell or Wendy's from our previous lecture puts out a tweet, anybody could go in there and talk to other people about it. So there is this difference, right? There is a huge difference between it. And let's kind of see some traditional versus social media. So what is meant by media, right? First of all, let's define what media is, okay? What is meant by media? One, it's communication channels through which news, entertainment, education, data, or promotional messages are disseminated, right? That is media. Social media, like we said in the last lecture, isn't something new. It's just a new tool of doing it. Why? Because the tool changed. We went from having a television that was a one-to-many type of communication channels to a mobile phone, which now could create many-to-many. Media includes, and this is traditional media, broadcasting and narrowcasting medium. So your television, right? We say TV, but broadcasting meaning your antenna on your television or your direct TV or anything like that. Newspapers, magazines, we all know what's going on with them. They're dying if you didn't know. TV, radio, billboards, direct mail, telephone, faxes. We still get those promotions in the mail. We still get that type of stuff. And then lastly, the internet. And so internet is also a traditional media now. It's there. And next week when we talk about evolution of media and evolution of social media, we'll see that the internet wasn't created in the 90s. It's been around for a little while, all dating back to Cold War, right? And so the internet's there, but like meaning if you do online web ads, right? Google has ads out there. That's not social media. It's a web ad. It's like a billboard, but on your computer. So therefore, it's not considered social media. Data storage materials are divided into 3 broad categories according to the recording method. Magnetics, remember in the old days, like you had discs, you had microfiche, you had CDs and DVDs. All of that is media. All of that is stuff that we're using to transmit data from one thing to another, right? Now it's a little different because of the social aspect of it. So that's what we have to define as what media is so we can move on and go forward and say, okay, well, what's this difference between traditional and social? So let's move on. Traditional media. one-to-many paradigm, right? It's one-to-many. A message is transmitted to the masses through broadcast, print, radio, or signage. And so the clearest example, and I know I said the last lecture we weren't going to talk about a politics or anything like that, but this is the clearest example of where you can see media switching, right? Media switching. Failing campaigns in this day and age, in the year 2017, right, die because of traditional media, right? Nobody pays attention as much to traditional media in the sense they pay attention. People are looking, but the connection between people is now through social media. So a message is transmitted to the masses through broadcast, print, radio, or signage, and we see this all the time, right? Newspapers are failing; they're going down. They have to supplement it by going online and putting out an online magazine, and we'll see another traditional media showing how social media took over. One-way communication that does not create or enable engagement, meaning people are not communicating back and forth with it because of the fact that these companies are so big. You can't talk to when they put out a billboard, you can tell your friend, and that's word of mouth, right? But you can't tell the company again, oh my gosh, your billboard's horrible. You can on social media, but with traditional, you couldn't. Social media. Here's what we do with social media. It's a two-way communication system. Now it goes up and down. When a company puts out a Facebook post, you can respond to the Facebook post. You can comment to the Facebook post. And when companies disable their comments, or when YouTube channels disable their comments, that's when people get upset because it's not social media anymore. Now you're using another platform to put out your message in the way that it's not supposed to be put out. Recommendations from friends in the form of reshares and recommended posts, which decommercializes the brand message. So think about this. In the day, if you had a bad customer experience, you went to the manager, you told your friends. Now you can go on Yelp, you could put a Facebook post, you could put a YouTube video of the experience, you could Periscope it or live stream it on Facebook Live in real time, your bad experience, right? It's not just word, oh, this happened to me, right? No, it's this is happening to me right now. Look what they're doing to me right now, right? That's how social media changed the game. So businesses, and that's why we talk about social responsibility next week, businesses have to manage this now, right? It's so much bigger than what people think it is. And then brand messages no longer carry the shine of the brand, but reflect the endorsement of your friends, right? It's all about that brand messaging, right? It's all about that brand messaging. We're more likely to try it when another person has endorsed it. And this is why I said I'm not going to talk about politics in this class, but it's too big to not talk about in this sense, right? In this sense. We're not going to talk about certain things that people do online, all this sense. So 2016 campaign, very heated campaign between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And going into the final week, if you believe the traditional media, the big newspapers and stuff, you thought Donald Trump had no chance of winning, right? On the other hand, if you went on social media, there was a huge social media movement, huge hashtag movements with Donald Trump, huge followers, support, engagement among social media users following Donald Trump out there. And so if you were on social media, you knew, or you had a sense that, oh, wait a second, like what these people are saying on traditional media isn't even coming close to what's being said online. So you could talk to somebody that's strictly on social media and they would have told you, oh, dude, Trump's going to win a landslide, right? You could have talked to somebody that never goes on Facebook or Twitter and only watches CNN or MSNBC or the network news 2, 4, and 7, and they would have said, dude, Donald Trump is going to lose in a landslide, right? He's going to lose in a landslide, right? Going into the final week, they did a final tally of newspaper endorsements, right? And this is where I talk about the brand messages no longer carry a shine because of social media, right? It's all about the endorsements. So we said traditional media was newspaper, right? We said traditional media was newspaper. And going into the final week of the campaign, when all newspaper endorsements were said and done, Hillary Clinton had Donald Trump beat 56 or 58-2 with national newspapers, right? Only 2 newspapers endorsed Trump, 56 or 58 endorsed Hillary Clinton. And then she lost in electoral votes, she lost soundly. And so we look at that and go, politics, it really changed the game of social media. This election really changed the game of social media to the point where, I don't know if you're watching it, but Kid Rock is making a Senate run, and he's registering voters through social media at his concerts, right? A mixture between traditional and social media. So huge change of the game, and that's why Twitter, it's so popular with politics and stuff, because that's where it really became the platform for politics and stuff. But traditional versus social. If you're looking at things and you're like, man, why isn't it going the way that the newspapers are telling? Because social media has that engagement factor, right? And so we're not saying that traditional is dead. We're just saying that social media has to be recognized as well. And so if we look here and don't believe me, here's an example, right? If you're old enough to remember when you used to go to the store to rent videos, right? Like Blockbuster, you likely experienced decommercialization. How did you choose which video you were going to rent? Right? Maybe you listened to Mr. Movie Phone and he gave you a recommendation. Maybe you talked to your friends. Maybe you asked the person at the counter, right? You asked the person at the counter. Maybe you looked at reviews. Maybe a perfect stranger walking up behind you recommending the video, right? If you went to Blockbuster, you had to start on the left side with A's and go all the way to title Z and find your video, right? Now, how do we find it out? Through Netflix, right? Netflix, Redbox, they have reviews up there. People rate the movies on the platform. If you go to Netflix now, it has a thumbs up or thumbs down rating system, star rating system, right? You go to Fandango, you go to Rotten Tomatoes, you look at these reviews from people rather than when you were in the video store, right? So complete change in it, right? In Facebook, I mean not Facebook, Netflix wanted to sell, and this is one of the anecdotes that I want to talk about. Netflix came up to Blockbuster and tried to sell them their idea back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Blockbuster said no, right? And maybe from a business decision, they were right at the right time, because even 2007, Blockbuster had the highest amount of blockbusters in the store. If you go and watch The Office on Netflix, season 3, Pam even says how she went to a Blockbuster to rent a movie, right? And that was 2007. I mean, season 3 was in 2007, 2008. So even then, Blockbuster was still famous. It was being referenced in popular TV shows and stuff. So Blockbuster was huge. However, they didn't see the writing on the wall for the times to come, right? And that's why we said it's not new, it's just a new method, right? Netflix isn't anything new from Blockbuster, it's just a new delivery method. It's a new way of doing it. So you got to know what's going on with the future. Obviously, Blockbuster's taxonomy was not even at the curiosity phase compared to other ones. So I just wanted to point that out there. If we look at the evolving power of the endorsement, right? An endorsement is huge on social media, right? Endorsement is huge on social media. Social media influencers, social media endorsers out there, product review people on YouTube, your favorite Twitter follow, your favorite Facebook follow, your favorite Snapchat follow, they're endorsing you in some other way. And so if we look at traditional media, where the endorsements come from for products, it's commercials, magazines, politics, newspapers, like we said earlier, TV coverage, ads, door to door. That's why I said it's not a matter of social media overtaking traditional. It's a matter of how are they blending the two. So going to the politics portion of it, Trump did get a lot of TV coverage, right? He got an extensive amount of TV coverage due to the social media factor. If he wasn't on social media saying what he would, the network TVs wouldn't have picked it up. Another example in business is LeVar Ball, right? If you watch Ball in the Family on Facebook, which is a Facebook show dedicated to Lonzo Ball, the future point guard for the Lakers, and his family, LeVar Ball, he owns his own company, Big Baller Brand. He says outrageous stuff. He prices exclusive product. I mean, his son's shoe is $495, right? And that's his third son, the high school one, right? The one that's in high school. And people go, oh my gosh, he's such an idiot. He's pricing it wrong. How can you? And they're thinking in the traditional media method, right? They're thinking in traditional media. He's thinking social media. That's why he's so much better. Why? Because he puts the social media posts out there, and then they talk about it on traditional media. So he's getting both coverage out there, and it links back to each other. So you have to understand how to use social media to garner the traditional media so that it drives it back to the social media. And that's what's so big and so forward thinking, that if we stop thinking inside the box of, oh, well, that's dumb. Why would you price a shoe at $495? So that ESPN, that's the lead story on ESPN. And yes, he only has so many followers on social media, and ESPN will have, 7 million viewers a night, whatever the stats are. That's 7 million people seeing about him and going, wait, who's this LeVar Ball guy? He's on a thing called Twitter. Okay, let me go on there. Boom, he's got their followers to him. So using them, right? Evolving power of the endorsement. People and information, right? We all had encyclopedias. Before Google, how did we even know information, right? Movies, we do stuff. We looked at recommendations from people. CNN as a form of information. Encyclopedia Britannica, right? And you had to update that so that you had the newest thing. The newest social media, products are on Snapchat. They're doing YouTube product reviews. Twitter is doing promoted ads on there. Yelp as for restaurants. Politics, you're going to Facebook posts. you're going to email, you're going to blogs, you're going to Flipboard, you're going to Reddit, all these different things that helped you do it. Producing GIFs, producing memes. People always, from a political standpoint with social media, whether you like Trump or not, his social media game is on point, right? I mean, to a certain extent, there's social media people that say that, he could actually be doing a little bit more than what he's doing. People that don't understand social media will say he's doing a fantastic job at it. Ones that understand it could say, yes, he could be even doing a little bit more to create controversy and to do stuff like that. Who knows, whatever it is, but down to the business portion of it, the politics portion of it, that's what basically won him the election is targeting Facebook stuff. He didn't have a door-to-door campaign like the old traditional media did. He had a go out on Facebook and do it. And so politics is changing the thing. People and information. People are going to Facebook to find information, LinkedIn to find job ads, infographics to know a little bit more about yourself, Wikipedia, right? When I went to college, Wikipedia, and let me make this so you can see the whole thing. Wikipedia was frowned upon. Now it's a legitimate news source. It's a legitimate information source. So Yelp, Google, all these different types of things is the evolving power of the endorsement. Media approaches, right? Traditional versus social. Polished content in traditional media. Actors and celebrities, pre-produced. Passive involvement, meaning they send it out to you. You can't really get involved with it. Paid platform, it's paid for. It's a paid infomercial, that type of thing. It's a closed system, meaning people can't come into it. It's a one-to-many paradigm. Compared to social, which is authentic. It doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it's authentic. And when people fake social media and do pre-produce content, it doesn't look as good to a certain extent, right? Certain things you need to have pre-produced content. But for the most part, somebody doing a live stream of them at the actual event rather than a TV news editor editing out all the stuff and then bringing out the news, social media has brought that authentic content to the situation. Users and influencers versus those actors and celebrities. Going back to the politics, I don't know any actor, celebrity that was really big mainstream that came out and said, oh, I love Donald Trump, right? It was all negative, negative, negative. However, users, influencers on social media had more impact on the election this year than in previous cycles. 2008, yes, he had all the celebrities come out for Obama, and he won, right? And so the power of the endorsement is huge. Now it's switching platforms. Social media platform is really where the influencers are going. Real-time creation. Doing stuff in real time, having Facebook Live, YouTube Live for a business, maybe having virtual live stream. I mean, for me, I do live stream office hours, but live stream business tours. A real estate agent can go and do a walkthrough of a house and live stream and take comments and questions. Active involvement, meaning people are actively involved with it. They're contributing to it. It's a free platform. It's free. It's not paid, right? Traditional media is paid. You have to pay for a subscription to the New York Times. You have to pay for cable television. You have to pay for DirecTV. Social media, you pay for your data, but the platform's actually free. And it's an open system. More people can join, and it's fluid. And so when we look at this module and kind of wrapping up this module lectures, this module was all about introduction to social media, right? It was all about introducing you to social media. So whether you're a first-time user, that's why we did taxonomy of social media to find out where you're at. Whether you don't really know what's going on with social media, that's why I gave you the 7 myths and facts about social media so that you can understand more about what social media is. And then whether you're kind of didn't know what the difference between a traditional versus a social one, we did that as well. We just lectured on it just now and talked about the traditional versus social media factors. So with all that, these wrap up the lectures for Module 1. And what I really want you to do now after you watch these, read some of the articles that we have. I posted a bunch of articles on our modules page. Read the modules and then do the discussion forums. The first few weeks, we're going to have a lot of discussion forums. As we go further down the road with this class, we'll have more content creation, right? Meme creation, GIF creation, virality, going viral, creating Facebook page, YouTube page, LinkedIn page, Twitter page, Snapchat, Instagram, all those different types of sites. But we first need to understand what social media is before we could do it. It's kind of like driving a car. Before you step in the car and go out on the road, you have to do a behind the wheel driver's training. You have to do a driver's license test. You have to get your permit. You have to do all those things. Well, this is that portion of it. You have to go through these steps before I put you on a platform to actually develop it for business standards and personal branding standards. So with that, please go out there, continue doing the readings, continue doing the lectures, and I will see you all next week with a whole new set of lectures and a whole new set of discussion forums and activities. So thank you so much, and I will see you in week 2.